Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining today's webinar. We appreciate you spending some time with us today. My name is Rebecca with VoIP Supply, and today we are joined by Justin Roth, our partner at Snom. He's going to be going into some detail on Snom's latest offerings. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Feel free to use the chat feature or the Q&A feature on the side of your screen. We'll answer all the questions at the end of the webinar. If there's any questions that you might have after the webinar, feel free to contact us at VoIP Supply or contact Justin at Snom. We're going to have all of our information listed for you at the very end of the webinar. And thank you for joining us. Let's get started.
Hi, my name is Justin Roth. I'm one of the channel account managers at Snom. And my contact information I'll display at the end, so if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or to VoIP Supply. And today I just wanted to go through some of the updates that we have with new programs and also new product that is coming out, plus just a little overview of some of our current products and things that you may not have known that have more recently come out. So first, I want to go through the new program, which is our deal registration program. We've titled this Save with Snom. It's a deal registration where it's a pass-through discount that is good for 90 days unless it's otherwise noted. So if you do have a deal that is a rollout, which would take longer than 90 days, we will do a one-off depending on the situation, and typically approve that if, say, it's a 6-month rollout or something like that. If it was a multi-year type of deployment, we would have to do some additional approvals along the way, but of course we'd be willing to discuss that with you if it is that type of situation. So if it's just a generally out to public bid type of situation, it doesn't qualify, and the deal registration can't be stacked with any other discounts or promotions that we may be running at that time. It also just wouldn't qualify for any just mass requests for product. It does have to be for a specific deal that you are doing. So it can't just be a bulk buy type of situation. So like with any other deal registration program, it is the first partner that brings the deal forward. You do also have to be a part of our partner program, which is easy to sign up with through our website, which can be supplied for that link to do that either through VoIP Supply through your sales rep or by reaching out to myself or one of the other channel managers at Snom. It does have to be in a certain amount of product to qualify for the program. It also, you have to be able to share the end user information and your contact information along with, you know, an idea of when the deal will close. If there's any competitive information, and say if it is a situation where it's competitive and you need even a little bit more of a discount, that we would be willing to of course talk about that and help you win the deal. But any information that's available that might be helpful in getting the deal approved is of course encouraged. So it is a pass-through. It's a little bit simpler program than some of the other competitors out there, that there's not a lot of complex if you add certain products, or that it's this discount, or if it's for this type of platform that it's an additional one. It is just a straight discount across all of our phones. Accessories don't qualify for this, such as our a power supply or a Wi-Fi dongle or headsets. But all of our phones, including our decked phones and conference phones, do qualify for this. To register for it, you can either reach out to your VoIP Supply rep or to myself, or there is a spot to be able to fill in the information on our partner portal. I'm actually not sure if that link is live or not, but it will be soon on the partner portal. It's easiest right now to just reach out to the channel manager or to your VoIP Supply rep. We also have still going on our NFR program, which stands for not for resale. So it's an additional discount off of the phones. It's typically about 35% off of what you would see the distribution pricing on our phones or more, to be able to test phones and get demo units. And that goes across any of our phones, and even one of our new decked headsets, which is the A170. but it would qualify for, like, say, our M500 or our new desktop phones, which I'll get into a little bit more here shortly, the new D81 series, and also our existing desk phones such as our D7s. So in that desk phone part, I wanted to talk also about our existing lineup, which is the D7s, which you may be familiar with, but it goes from the D785, which has built-in Bluetooth, and then a variant of it, same exact phone without Bluetooth, that is a cost savings. It does have a USB port, and you can add a dongle for Wi-Fi. D735, it's a smaller screen, so it goes down from a 4.3-inch screen to a 2.8-inch screen. It does have a USB port also on that, which you can add that additional Wi-Fi dongle onto there, the A210. The D717, which is the same size screen as the 735, it's just changing the number of buttons that are on there. That phone does also have that dongle or that USB port to be able to add the dongle for Wi-Fi or a headset on any of those three phones. The 713 is almost identical to the 717 as far as screen size, but it has an additional button. It's a 4 buttons as opposed to 3, but it does not have a USB port on it. And this is just talking about on this slide that you can't add that A210, which does add Wi-Fi to the phones. Now also on any of these phones, you can add our sidecar, the D7C, which is a full color display. It's 6.8 inches. And any of these, you can use, of course, PoE. You can also add our power supply, which it's one power supply across all of our desk phones. Even on the new series phones, the D8s, it's the same exact power supply that we used on our D7 series phones. So it's not confusing where there's more than one power supply needed. And that is that D7 expansion module that I was talking about. One other thing that I do want to talk about with this is that you can, for a single expansion module, you can power from just the power from the phone. If you add more than one sidecar, that you would need to get the AC adapter to power them. The other thing too is that there's the USB port to not only connect other D7Cs to this, but you can also use that USB port for any dongle that the phone supports. So whether that's the A210 for Wi-Fi, or it's a headset, for a decked headset or a Bluetooth headset, say from another manufacturer like Jabra or the HP Poly types of headsets, that it would support that in that USB, even though you're using the one on the phone to power the sidecar. There's also a new product out of our D1 series that we did an update. This is the D140 and D150. It's commonly used for a common area phone or in education. It's a low cost entry-level phone. It is a grayscale screen on there. It's 2 buttons on both of them. The difference between the D140 and the D150 is the D140 is 10100 and the D150 is gigabit. Just a basic phone, but it does include across all of our phones a 3-year warranty, which covers for the full 3 years, but advanced replacement if you did need a phone. So we will ship one in advance and send you a shipping label to ship back the old product to us so that you're not without the phone for an extended period of time. We also have North American support for all of our phones and all of our products. So you can call in. You can also get support by opening a ticket through our web portal, which is like our wiki page, which is service.snom.com, or by email also. And that one D140 and D150, it's just a 2-SIP account phone. It's just a very basic phone at a lower cost. This is a comparison to the product that is still out, that it's the next generation of, the D120. So a little bit larger display, where that one was monochrome LCD, where these are grayscale. Same number of SIP accounts. The D150 does go up to gigabit as opposed to the 10100. And one other change that we made, so then across all of our phones, one of the differences in our product is the hook switch. So in all of our products outside of the D120, it's an electronic hook switch as opposed to a mechanical hook switch. So it's one less point of failure. and that's part of how we can offer that 3-year warranty on the phones. It does support, there is no USB on across any of these, but it will support an RJ9 headset. And there is also a wall mount available for both of the D120, but it is a different part number for the D140 and D150. They do have the look, and the plastic shell is the same overall shape as our D7 series phones, and it shares the wall mount from the D7 series phones. It also allows for an additional angle when you're putting it on the desk. So these are the new D8 series phones, and there will be some additional models that will also be added to this coming over the next year and a half. These currently out right now are the D812 and D815, and later in the summer to early fall, the D810 will come out also. So that they have that separated, almost kind of tablet look of the screen. On the D815 and 812, it's the same size screen. It's a 5-inch color screen. That screen doesn't angle. It is a fixed screen. On the D810, it's I believe a 3.6-inch screen on that one. On the 815, it has, go to the next slide because it goes into a little bit more detail comparing them. The 815 has 2 USB ports. It supports 12 SIP accounts. It's a gigabit phone. All of them are across the whole series. And one of the key differences in between the D810 and the D812 is that those only have 1 USB port on them as opposed to the 2 on the 815. The other differences will be the number of function keys on there. That the 810 has 4, where the 812 has 8, and then the D815 has 10. One other difference in between them is, especially with Wi-Fi, that it is built in on the 815, and you have to add that A210 that is the same exact dongle that you would use on our D7 series on the D8 series phones. Now there's a lot of the user interface and things as far as the SIP stack are very similar and the same on our D7 series, but there have been slight changes to make things display better. Say, for example, in a call, the way that the caller ID displays is better, say, versus if you were to compare to our older product, the D7s, that on a 735, that it will display a phone number that is longer across the display better, where it doesn't need to scroll any longer. So there's been a lot of small improvements like that in the product. The other thing too is that why it shows that the second number next to the function keys, where on the D8 it shows 12 programmable keys, 28 on the D812, and 36 on the 815, is that one key is taken away by needing to go to the next page, so that there's not a dedicated next page, so it is using one of those keys each time. There will be an expansion module available later within the next few months, the D8C, which is the same exact size as the D7C, where it's a 6.8-inch LCD, and it does have 20 function keys with 3 pages on it. There is a dedicated next page function on that, since they're numbered at the bottom. It's 1, 2, 3, so that you can jump to those pages quicker. So this is a closer look at the D815. Like I was talking about, that it is compatible with the expansion module. It will support up to 3, just like the D7 series. Same 3-year warranty that on the D7s, where it's 3-year replacement, advanced replacement, that will ship it out in advance. And we do, once again, have that North American support. This does not have Bluetooth built in, but you can add the dongles like you would from any other headset, and it would work. We also do have the EHS, which will work. The same EHS that works with our D7 series will work with these D812, 815, and 810 later. This is the D812. So very similar looking phone in between the 812 and 815. The only physical difference from the outside is that the 812 only has that 1 USB port as opposed to the 2 on the 815. And then there's also no Wi-Fi built into the 812. And of course, it's less expensive than the 815. The 810 The smaller screen, it's a 3.36-inch screen. I believe I misstated it earlier. And that this will be out later, late summer, early fall is the estimated time of arrival. Very similar phone, single USB port, just smaller screen, and it of course will be at a lower cost than the 812 and 815. The D8C, so this is that expansion module that I was talking about, that it's, you know, a large colorful screen at 6.8 inches, and it will, you can support up to 3 of them added on to any of those phones, and it's hosted from the power from the phone. And one other thing too that I almost forgot to mention is that you can customize the background on the D8C. Just a quick overview of our conference products. So that we do have the C620, which is a decked conference phone. So the base is actually, you can move it around as long as it's within range of that decked base. So anywhere from, depending on the environment that you're in, up to 150 feet from that base. And then there are 2 decked microphones that you can move to also be closer, say in a conference room, to pick up better sound quality from people at a long conference table, for example. The C52 is our expansion speaker, which would work off of this C620. You can add up to 2 of these, and similar to the mic pucks, but in a larger capacity as far as being able to pick up sound, and it can also produce sound as opposed to just the mics. So in a larger conference room, it can also be added to our D7 series desk phones. That we sell a dongle, the A230, which is a deck dongle, which allows you to be able to add on, say, an executive's office, this C52 SP, to kind of give a conference phone type of situation where they could take conference calls on a larger speaker phone and have the mics built in, picking up the sound right from there, without having to add an additional conference phone, and also possibly, you know, maybe have some benefits depending on how things are set up with SIP license. Recently, several months ago, we updated the PA1 to the PA1 Plus. So there's minor differences. It's basically the same product, but it did add gigabit support onto there. So if you are trying to use it to connect a security camera or something like that, that being gigabit is a big deal. It also added some differences in the power, that the built-in amp, it's not going to power a lot, but it went from 4.5 watts on the PA1 to 6.5 on the PA1 Plus. It also added in TLS security, because the chipset was limited on the PA1, so you couldn't go to the current level of TLS, so you couldn't go to 1.2 and things like that on the product. One of the other new products that I wanted to talk about are headsets. We've offered headsets in the past, typically wired headsets that would plug into an RJ9, or may have plugged into a 3.5 millimeter plug or 2.5 millimeter plug on a cordless phone. This was the product that's currently out and still offered, the A100, with M or D just standing for mono or dual on the headset. It had a quick release adapter to be able to quickly disconnect it. The boom went around to 300 degrees, and it had some noise cancellation in there. Just very basic headset. That we are coming out with new headsets that I'll get to, that are very similar as far as the product, but a little bit updated to look very similar to this one that I'm showing on the screen now, the A330 M and D, which are same thing, where the M is the mono headset, D is for the dual. That it's a very comfortable headset. It's very low cost for the capabilities. It plugs into anything that would be USB, including a PC. And it does have control for the call from the actual buttons on the cord going to the headset. The other new product as far as headsets that is coming out soon, this will be out early summer, is the A350M, which is just a single earpiece Bluetooth headset. And it's going to be in that mid-range type of price. It is plug and play with our phones. There is a USB dongle to be able to use with other devices. It does have that busy light on there, which is also shared across from those any of the 300 series headsets, including those USB ones that I just showed, the A330, that it will show and indicate when you are on a phone call. And it is a comfortable, well-made, has a nice physical weight to the headsets across all of these products. This is the A310M and D. So the same exact nomenclature with the M for mono and D for dual. And it's that similar style of headset where it's comfortable. It's going to be much more comfortable wearing it all day. And the actual headband is a little bit nicer going up against hair, not having to worry about it getting caught as easily on these products versus the older style headsets that we had. And that it does have the RJ9 quick release, so same as the 100 series that used to have, but it's just a little bit nicer and better feel to the product. And it's a really great value at the pricing. I had mentioned the A170 decked headset earlier, that this headset is part of our NFR program. The other headsets are not currently. The A170 is decked, so it's going to be a much longer range than, say, a Bluetooth. Bluetooth, you're normally talking 33 feet as far as a standard out of the box, limited by the technology type of range. As where with decked, you can be talking up to 150 feet away from someone's desk that they can move around. If you have somebody who walks around, or maybe a secretary, or depending on what position, that this does give that. It also has a swappable battery in the headset, and it does give a pretty good battery life, where for most of people that if they're talking on the phone for less than 6 hours a day, that this would be a plenty of battery life. It technically goes a little bit longer than that, but in real life situations, that would be the real ideal range for the A170. And it does come with also multiple different headset accessories, the way that it actually would attach to the user's head. And then the other thing I wanted to get into is our deck solutions, which is really our strong part of our lineup, where it's I really think the best out of anybody in the industry. So one big difference between decked and Wi-Fi is that decked, it's a dedicated frequency that there's nothing else on it, so that you don't have to worry about interference, where with Wi-Fi that you can run into some interference. So you're going to have the best voice quality on that dedicated frequency. It is limited by the fixed range, but it does have a much better battery life. There's a higher level of security, and typically your voice quality is going to be much higher than what you're going to get with Wi-Fi. Now, the other part with Wi-Fi is that people may already have an existing network, but if you're not managing that network, you may run into problems with that, depending on the type of setup that the customer has and the other complexities that would come along with it being on there. And then they could be making changes to that network, whether that's moving access points due to some construction, or adding additional clients, which then would affect the phones attaching to that Wi-Fi network. And of course, be affected by various other things performance-wise that you could get into with a network, as where you're going to run into a little bit less of that with decked. So out of the deck solutions, we have the M100, which is a single cell solution. It does feature our keyline emulation, which we call KLE, which is emulating a key system. So the old key system phones, where you had numbered line keys, and all the phones and handsets, which I'll show future, have line key numbers on them. So when somebody gets a call, it rings one main number, and that it will light up the keys 1, 2, 3, 4, which that has 4 key lines on the cordless handsets on the M100, and it will show those lighting up. And I'll show an example of that a little bit further in here. And that it will do up to 8 SIP accounts on that and 10 phones. Now that can be any combination of phones, and there's different cordless phones for that system, and also a desk phone. The M1 or M400, we do market it as a single cell. It is capable actually of dual cells though. And it's kind of a miniature of our M900 product, which more people are familiar with, that our M900 is a large multi-cell product, and I'll talk about that in a moment. The M400 though won't do any of the keyline emulation, that key system functionality, and it doesn't have any BLF emulation on there, which the next product I'm going to talk about will. Pretty simple. You can do up to 20 devices on there. It shares the same handsets as the M900, which I'll show a little bit further what handsets those are. And then our M500, which is really one of the real unique products in the whole industry, that it can be single cell or dual cell, and it will do that key system emulation that I talked about. It's kind of office in a box type of product. It will also do BLF emulation inner system, so that it will show, depending on how you have it configured, but you can see that, say, the manager of the restaurant or the secretary is on a call, that the doctor or dentist in an office, that they're on a call, and be able to monitor that across a wireless system with desk phones and cordless phones, but without having to do Ethernet drops. It's capable of doing up to 16 devices and up to 16 calls in that dual cell. The M900 is our enterprise grade product. It will do up to 1,000 cells and 4,000 handsets. It does work like a true mesh network on there, and it'll support up to 10 calls depending on how you have it set up in wideband or narrowband. The M100 that I was just talking about, that does do the KLE, the keyline emulation key system functionality. It's an inexpensive DECT product with great range if you were to compare it to competitive products. And it has 3 handsets available. The M18, which is the desk set, it is a monochrome display, and it does have that paper desi strip in there. So it is a little bit more of a dated look, but the functionality is great, and especially for businesses where they may be hard on their devices, such as dropping them into fryers or losing them, auto shops. There is a ruggedized cordless available in that M10R. And across all of these devices, we still also offer that 3-year warranty with the advanced replacement. And the M10 is just the basic cordless handset. And on those phones, that it does have the dedicated 4 keyline buttons on there to be able to monitor and see what calls, and if, say, somebody gets placed on hold, that it will show that a line being in use or being on hold and flashing, and it will show indicating with the lights too, and of course ringer incoming calls and what line it's on. So you can simply say when a call is placed on hold, John, you have a call on line 2, and somebody would be able to visually see that line flashing and be able to pick it up from another handset. The M400 that I talked about is that we market it as a single base, but it is capable of dual bases. And the handsets listed below are the same exact handsets that are compatible with connecting to our M900 product. We previously had a product called the M325, which is really taking its spot in the lineup. And the handsets that also were more legacy that connected to that will also connect to the M400. So the M25, the M65 that are not listed here will still also connect to the M400 and our M900. But the new handset that came out along with the M400 is the M30, where it's an entry-level phone, no Bluetooth, no frills to it, no jack to plug in a headset or anything like that, but it's an inexpensive cost of under $100 for a handset. And then they go all the way up to our M90, which is a medical grade white handset, antibacterial plastics, sealed keypad, and IP65, I believe, on that one. So the M500 that I talked about, that this is that real unique product where it does that same functionality of the M100, where it has that key system emulation, but it will also do emulate a BLF on it, and very similar but as opposed to doing single cell, it will do dual cell up to 16 phones. And the other big difference is that the updates in the handsets. So there's other capabilities such as being able to do private extensions and some other things that you can do as far as configuring it. All the phones also have built-in Bluetooth across the desk phone, the M58, the cordless phone, the M55, and then we have a ruggedized one, the M56, that will be coming out early July will be the time frame, or maybe a little bit sooner. And all of these also have antibacterial plastics on them. And then there's 6 line keys on the cordless phones. And on the desk phone, there's actually 24 programmable keys, so you can see a little bit more. But the look and feel of that M58 is of a normal SIP phone. So same weight, same feel, but you're not having to run Ethernet runs to the phone. So just work off of the base stations. So if somebody unplugs a phone, moves it across the office, you're not getting a support call that, you know, it's plugged into a different Ethernet. As long as it's plugged in for power with the AC adapter, it's going to work. We also have released accessories for these small things such as a wall mount for the M58, the little parts and pieces for the M55, such as if you had a user break the belt clip. The belt clips and things like that on our products tend to be a little bit more rugged than the competition. But that M56 that is coming out, that is IP67, and it still has that 3-year warranty. It will also have an alarm, flashlight, and it will have an accelerometer for motion detection. So when I was talking about that key system emulation, the key system functionality, this is an example of that. So if for example, that's on the screens is a pizza shop, if they're getting a call on line 1, all of the phones ring showing line 1. Now it can be configured differently than this, but this is the primary way that we see the M500 being configured and set up and sold. And as you can see on the screen on the M58, that's all the way to the left-hand side, that this phone also has a private extension set up on it for Carl. And you can see also on the right-hand side of that screen, below that private extension, that you can see it's doing BLF monitoring. So it can see when a handset is idle or not. These are also capable of paging and intercom across all of them. But you can see the 4 lines there, and that line 1 is ringing through, and it shows on all 3 handsets. It will also show the same thing if a line is picked up, and it will show if it's in use, in this example, showing the BLFs below. And it will show a red indicator on the LED on the phones when it is in use. It will be red and flashing when it is on hold. Like I said, this product is capable of single cell or dual cell. As far as range, it's going to depend on your environment that you're putting it into. The more open it is, the further range that it will be. Also, depending on the materials of the building, it's best to set it up in person to do a site survey to see where the range cuts off. But this is capable of dual bases. It can be set up 2 different ways. So the ideal way would be both plugged into a switch and then them connected in, and then they'll communicate via DECT the 2 bases. Now, if there's not networking available, you can daisy chain the 2 base stations together, and it will work that way too, also for the dual cell. It gives you an idea of what it looks like programming the keys on the M58. So how there was 2 different setups in the examples that I was showing you. It can be easily customized and changed, and also changed down the road. But the PFK is the programmable function key, is the name that we call those key lines. But you can set that up to be a speed dial even, or the DECT busy monitoring, which is the BLF type of functionality that we have built in. We did also patent that DECT busy monitoring, that no one has been able to display that type of information across DECT previously. You can show the key line, which is displayed there, and you can customize it to how it's needed for that business. And it looks very similar across the M55, those cordless handsets, or the M56, that ruggedized cordless handset. This is the M900 product that I was talking about, which is the enterprise decked product, which can do up to 1,000 base stations and up to 4,000 handsets. And the handsets range from the M30 all the way up, getting more features and ruggedized like the M90. It also adds in Bluetooth as you go further up into the handsets. And the level of rugged, that the M70 has protection for dropping, and then it gets more to the on the M80 and so forth on the M90. So as far as a multi-cell, that this can do multi-cell. It also could do a campus type of deployment. The other thing that we've also added is an outdoor unit for the M900, which not only will that cover, say, if you're trying to do a car lot where they need coverage, a car dealership where they need coverage outside on the actual lot, or an RV or campgrounds, but it will also be useful if you have somewhere that has multiple buildings that are separate buildings, but not far apart distance-wise, that if it's within decked range, you could place 2 outdoor M900 units and be able to connect those and it work as one seamless network. So say that if you have a production facility and a warehouse, but they're not physically connected, that you could do it in that manner. So this allows you to, though, be able to set up a mesh network with multiple bases that the phones will roam across base to base seamlessly, very similar to how your cell phone works. And also, if you need more density, that there's more handsets in an area, that you can add decked bases to increase the capacity to in that same manner also. And it will automatically, dynamically pick the best base to connect to on the handsets. There's also a site survey mode, which is one of the big differences on that M900 product, where it gives you an idea of where to place the best places to put the phones. And you actually only need power. You don't have to have this connected to the network to be able to test this. So even if it's in, say, a new site that's still under construction, you could go in there and get an idea of where to place the base stations that would be ideal, how many base stations that would be needed, and be able to give an accurate quote and know what you're going to install. This is just showing the M900 outdoor unit, which I talked about. And there's a bunch of different uses for it, but it's the same exact actual functionality and will interconnect with the M900 in a network. So that this shows all of the handsets other than the discontinued M25. And they range, like I was talking about, from all the way down to the M30 and then up to the M90. And then the other 2 handsets that weren't displayed before were the M65 and M85 that I talked about, which are physically a little bit larger, as where the M30 and all the way up to M90 are smaller, which it's about the size of the old Nokia bar phones, like the cell phones, the old school ones, where the M85 and M65 have a little bit larger display, larger keypad, a little bit easier to type if, say, somebody has long fingernails or large fingers. And one of the other differences is that the M85 also has an accelerometer if you need a man-down functionality. It also has the alarm button, which is also shared across the M70, M80, and M90, but is not available, say, for example, on the M65 or M30. Once again, all of these are also covered by that 3-year warranty across all of our phones. We also actually have been doing the setup with the M900 for a lot of the trade shows. So we did it actually for IT Expo, where we created a mesh network that gave the staff of IT Expo cell phone, coverage as opposed to using their cell phones in there. So a dedicated network with being able to intercom and page in between each other throughout the building. I had mentioned earlier as far as support and the websites to be able to get that. That service hub down there is our wiki. So there's a lot of product information. We also do have a redirect service, which is SRAPs, which is linked right there. Any of the stuff, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is right here. Also, I've listed 2 of our sales engineers' contact information. If you do have questions or say something like wanting to get an idea of a site survey for an M900 deployment that's multi-cell, we're more than willing to help you out with something like that or help in configuring a device. Also, to give you some ideas of Snom is that we are part of VTech, so we were acquired by VTech in 2016. We are one of the largest phone manufacturers in the world. That so we're a global organization. We do have our own distribution center in North America, which is unique to the SIP phone manufacturers, that we do stock that warehouse and we do production much further out, planning out for a year of the production. And we own our own factories so that we have a lot better control over manufacturing and supply. We do have North American-based teams, not only for that support, but those sales engineers that are based in North America, all of that. So if you do have questions or problems, we are on the same exact time zones for North America, so a little bit more accessible than some of the others. And like I've mentioned several times, that we do have that 3-year warranty with advanced replacement. Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions in the Q&A right now or the group chat, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to enter those in right now. Justin, do you want to put your contact information back up on the screen for just a second in case anyone missed that? Okay, perfect. And then as far as VoIP Supply contact goes, of course, you can reach out to us at voipsupply.com or 1-800-398-8647. We are also going to send out the recording of this webinar as well as the PowerPoint slides to your email. And so, of course, if you have any questions at that point, you can always reply back to the email, and then one of us will be able to help you out and connect you with who you may need to talk to. Thank you all very much for joining the meeting. I don't see any additional any questions in the chat or the Q&A at this time. So we thank you very much for your time, and thanks so much, Justin.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Appreciate it. You all have a great day.
Thanks.
Thanks.